business, you have to do everything. You can't wait for the phone to ring. You know, you gotta write, direct, hello, do voiceovers.
Someone in the booth likes to repeat their voice.
Step back from the woofer. I did this. This is my first show I've ever done. It's a blast. I wish I did it sooner. And I did it because my wife, you know, she wants to start having a family and everything. So I got to man up. So this came along at exactly the right time. And the stability is amazing, but it's also so much fun. I mean, it's like shooting an extended movie. You get to become like expert at your character and doing stuff with your character every different week. Yeah, that's great.
Well, your character is kind of, it seems like already in the pilot, you've got this sort of not catchphrase, but kind of just this catch reaction. You're sort of the shouty word. Is that, was that you? Was that in the script?
That was, I mean, like, that's like an homage to the Costanzas in the world. I feel like he's a cousin of George Costanza. Grew up in that same household. So he has a tendency to go there. But I think that he's got many different levels. Kenny, we're gonna try and sprinkle that in the right places.
Yeah. Does your character get to win every once in a while, or is he sort of a?
I'm kissing a new girl every week, so hello. Dan Fogler won.
Of course, you mentioned that Henry Simmons actually continues on the show. So
Henry Simmons was, it was a guest spot, and then it was when we would like to get like more, a higher caliber of actors, so you couldn't get guys who were like going to take this. So we made it a series regular, and Henry came in. Henry's a 1-hour drama guy. It was 6 years on NYPD Blue for him, and everything Henry says is completely sincere. Then you say cut, and he's like, Chris, was that okay the way I said that? And then when I put these two, you put these two together in a room, and it's just so funny. So Henry's now a series regular, and our first episode back is called Finessing the Bromance, and it's Will's job to get Kenny and Grant to become friends, and trying to get the two of them. It's like just putting the two of them in the room is a lot of fun. And he's the only one that we didn't audition. So I showed up at a table read with like, boy, I hope Dan Fogler's good. We were lucky, he was. And all those hitting those words and yelling those words, that was him just kind of arbitrarily. And then we'd do another take, and I'd go, try it on a different word. He'd go, okay, and he'd hit a different word. It would just be funnier each time.
Did you write it with him in mind, or was it?
No, I didn't. I mean, I knew his work because I had seen a couple movies he had done. So when we started this, Paul Lee at ABC said, this role of Kenny, we really have to get somebody very, very special. So we auditioned a lot of guys. Special in a good way, son. And he was the only person we made an offer to, and he took it right away, and then came into LA, and I was like, nice to meet you. We sat down at the table, and he killed. And I was like, because I think these things live and die by the casting, and then when you get picked up, it lives and dies by the writing. It's like there are these two important things that have to happen, and when you see casts that gel like that, I think that's what is most important. So we got very lucky.
They're making themselves laugh at the audience. Jeremy and James, how many episodes have you guys shot so far? So tell us a little bit about sort of where your characters go. Where does the show go? Do they kind of get sucked into this suburban lifestyle, or do they resist it? What can we expect in future episodes?
Well, I think Tessa starts to get sucked in, and then she hates herself for it, and then she gets sucked in, and then she hates herself for it. So it's like this internal conflict where she starts to feel, again, she starts to feel for these characters and starts to connect with them, but she really wishes she didn't. So that's what Tessa's dealing with. And then, there's some ladies after my dad, and I'm not into it at all.
Yeah. Do you eventually start dating one of them, or do you?
Well, it is pretty fun being on a show because you don't really know exactly, but we've talked to the writer Emily a lot, and and what's been a nice surprise for me is Cheryl Hines' character, Dallas, seemed to me so far that, so kind of extreme that I couldn't imagine my character kind of falling for her. But somehow, over the 4 or 5 episodes, in a completely unobvious way, I found myself, like, as the character, thinking I would be thinking about her when she wasn't there, and kind of imagining us together, and you kind of I can see this relationship that's really cute. Even as old people, I can see him being kind of tickled by her, and them actually having some similarities underneath their, vastly different exteriors. And so I think, so I was kind of impressed with that, with the writing. That's kind of the biggest surprise that I've had. But I think overall, what's surprising to me is how how Emily and the writers have created a world, and sort of expanding out from the first episode, sort of expanding out with Sheila Shea, Anna Gustire, Gustire's character, and Chris Cornell is playing her husband, and Lisa Shea is the daughter. Sort of going into that world, and then the Dallas, Cheryl Hines' character, and just expanding that Jay Ward just came on as her husband, and so just expanding this world in a way that's kind of really specific, and actually kind of like creating different dimensions to these characters that perhaps you might have suspected to not ever never have or never be able to develop in that direction. So it's fun. It reminds me of being on 6 Feet Under, because that was awesome to be a part of a world that was so complete and full, and just to be a little part of it, but a cool part of it, a part that I was excited to be. And it feels the same with this. Like it's not writing on any one of us. It's actually a world that writing on Emily. I feel bad for her because she's really creating a whole thing, so I'm happy to be part of that. It feels fun.
What's interesting is you guys are sort of surrounded by this cast of some SNL alums. You've got Cheryl, obviously, from Curb Your Enthusiasm. You've got Jay Moore coming on, who's a comedian. What's that sort of like, being surrounded by these comedy people? Do they sort of do they like to riff a lot? Do they like to, and how are you kind of going back and forth?
Well, it's like it's a dream to be able to work with them, and it's so much fun. And I'm always the a-hole that, like, while they're trying to act towards me, I'm like every single shot. Like, I've ruined shots because my shoulders are shaking. Like, that's just so lame. And it's not just one take; it's like 7 in a row. They make me laugh so hard. That's why I feel like such an amateur. But it's a blast. And I think as time goes on, we're getting more space to improv. Like, as the season goes and we get to know each other better, and we get to know the writers better, that starts to happen, and it's the best. That's when the goal will happen.
Nancy, speaking of improv, there was a scene in the pilot where it totally looked like Tim was sort of just riffing, and you were, like, honestly laughing.
Yeah, that was 2 in the morning. It was Tim riffing, and Tim actually riffs a lot. It doesn't always make it into the show, but he's always riffing. But that was a moment where we shot the pilot and then let the audience go home and got to this scene, and it was an exposition scene where all this information had to come out, and we sat there and in the wee hours of the morning said, it really just doesn't even make sense, and we shoot the whole thing over again. And so Tim just said, let's just get the information out quickly, and you do it. Thanks. And then he just starts talking like he's awesome. They kept it.
No, it was a great moment where you kind of see you honestly just sort of cracking up at each other, and they cut the scene very quickly, so it sort of doesn't linger too long, just the right amount.
Yeah.
So what are we obviously learned that your character is going back to work full time and spending more time at work. Are we gonna see that world, or?
I hope so. Gosh, I'm pushing for it. The thought is that my character is a geologist and works for an oil company. So that should be interesting to
Right.
see how that develops. And of course, he works for an REI type store in management. Well, you know that. I mean, that's so yeah, who knows? I mean, it's so much a writer's medium. I think everyone said this. this, now that the show's picked up. We are just the actors, sitting, waiting to see what little tidbits we get that we can chew on.
Yeah.
So, let's see.
And you guys are happy with what you've been given to choose so far?
Happiest for Goyam.
There's one thing we can take away today.
Happiest for Goyam. Am I Goyam? I don't know. Am I Goyam?
Actually said to me, a wonderful fellow, I was saying, Moish, don't you love this day? We were both jogging. He was 150 years old. I was hearing that. We were in Griffith Park somewhere. He was the 50-mile champion. He was a tough guy from Coney Island. And I said, look at that. It just rained and the sky is clearing up and the shafts of silver light and the birds are bursting out with joy. And look at that. Look up. Look at the scenery. Look at the scenery. He says, scenery's for Goyam.
What was I thinking trying to enjoy this day?
The show is just everything.
So,
What's Goyam?
I believe I'm Goyam, am I not?
Oh, yes, yes.
Like, I'm not a Jewish person.
Yeah.
so
Don't touch that with a 5-foot pole or with a 10-foot pole or 2 5-foot Swedes.
Where's Jackie Mason?
So this is a writer's medium, and you're sort of you were able to sort of write any part you wanted for yourself. You didn't give yourself the lead though.
I didn't. I recognized in my entire career, and don't moan, when I was on Coupling. And I'm always I'm always the wacky guy next to Jeremy Sisto saying, hey, I got some theories about girls. The good looking guy and then the best buddy. I've always been the best buddy. So it's like, I know that I'm not going to write the show like, hey, it's the Chris Moynihan show, and I'm the center of it. And so I knew it, and I also don't want to carry a show. It's like when you put someone at the center, there's a lot on your shoulders. So I always write myself way off to the right, because also if I'm going to be running the show, I want to,
Not
have time, not be on set all the time. I mean, I'm on set all the time when I'm not in the writer's room, just to kind of monitor what's going on. But I couldn't be like Tina Fey does it. Tina Fey's there, but you talk to people working on the show. Tina's there all the time, and Tina's Tina. So that's why I did it. I put myself way up to the right, and I wouldn't want to have to carry that show. And I know my place in that pecking order. I'm not Will, not Kenny, I'm Craig.
And not only did you not write the lead role for yourself, you gave yourself the wussiest role.
I did, but I got to sing Brown Eyed Girl. So.
Yeah.
They said when I wrote the pilot, they said, well, here's the thing about music. We won't pay for anything more than $20,000. And then Brown Eyed Girl was like $55,000. They said, you got to change the song to make it cheaper. And I was like, eventually Craig's going to come in there singing Camptown Races. And then they said, and also Van Morrison hasn't cleared anything in 20 years. He does not like his music used anywhere. And then they said, well, we'll take a shot. And then the first day back, they said, Van Morrison says you can use Brown Eyed Girl.
Wow.
And you can, and not only that, you can use his version of it, which is like he's singing it as we go out of the church. So and ABC coughed up the money for us, which was great. So, and eventually I left it. I was like, Craig's got one of the coolest moments in the pilot.
Yeah.
You can do no more songs. For
Talk a little bit more about what we're going to see on Man Up in the coming episodes.
Dan and I dig a pool together in our backyard to save money. And who wants a pool? You got to pay money because you want it right away. If we're willing to take our time and dig, we can do it for free. So we start digging a pool, and we have sword fights, and it's essentially what we want to do is recreate that moment in the pilot where the guys are out on adventures. It's like they're going to crash the church, and so we try and do that every episode where the four of us are out. When we discover that Kenny's character has never had sex with anybody other than his ex-wife, and we all reactions. We we go, we're going to take him out to a singles club. And it's like, we
That's
get
where you
there.
have the sword fight?
In the car on the way. But, so we get there, we bring Grant along to kind of help us get girls. So it's like 3 or 4 of us out in this world doing things. That's what we're looking forward to doing. And we do that a few times. We try and do it every episode.
Is the